should lecture. This is going to be awesome.
Cities are really easy.
Yeah. Hey everybody.
Hey.
Can you hear me good?
No.
No? Alright, I'll talk louder. So I'm going to speak about freshwater shrimp, and there's a lot of different kinds. Yeah, cheer for the freshwater shrimp. Look, they're almost like kissing. I don't know. Most of the shrimp I'm going to talk about are dwarf freshwater shrimp. There's other ones that get really big, like prawn. When you go to a restaurant and eat prawn, that's what they serve to you. But most of these, like these guys, these crystal red shrimp, only get about an inch. The biggest shrimp I'm going to talk about get around 3 inches. All right, next slide, please.
Let's do it.
This is just the scientific stuff because I want to make it look kind of official. They're basically crustaceans and decapod crustaceans which walk around, and they're invertebrates, which are animals who don't have a backbone. And when I was like putting all this together, I was thinking of questions people might ask. You can ask all the questions you want. I kind of want it to be interactive. That makes...
We should say these all out loud together.
I don't think so. We're not going to do that.
Why are they see-through?
What?
Why are they see-through?
Who's see-through?
The shrimp.
Some of them are and some of them aren't. It's just their different body composition. Some of them are clear and some of them have color to them. Did that answer your question?
Good answer.
But basically, a question I thought of was, do they have hearts? And yes, they do have hearts. All right, next slide, please.
Wait, what's the decapod?
What?
A decapod.
A decapod? It's a shrimp's a decapod crustacean. Like a spider is too. I know about shrimp, not about decapods. You want me to raise you some shrimp in a tank somewhere? I can do that. I can't tell you what a decapod is. I'm not a scientist. But shrimp have segmented bodies, as you can see. This shrimp has 6 segments in its body, and they have 5 pairs of walking legs, which are right up front here. And then they have...
That's what a decapod is.
That's what deck means, is 5?
10.
10? Oh, okay. Wow. Well, I'm really getting shown up here. But they eat with this set of claws up front here. And one of the weirdest things about crustaceans is that they'll molt like their whole shell. If you do a water change on a tank of shrimp, the next day it kind of looks like shrimp ghosts in there because it's like these little clear, their old shells they shed because they grew from the water change, or the stress from it made them also molt. But I'm trying to think of what else to say here with this slide. Oh, okay. Yeah, they have the swimmerettes back here. And those act as a reproductive organ also, because the males have longer swimmerettes and they use them to fertilize the females during sexual reproduction. And then the females, can you go to the next slide? Can you go to the next one?
Wait.
What?
Oh, we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one.
Oh, the next one.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be doing this, but... Alright, one more. One more.
Yeah!
This is them... this is them using their swimmerettes to hold eggs in.
Ew.
And can you go back a couple? Yeah, right there. That is a female shrimp's ovary, this white part. And it's called a saddle because it looks like an English riding saddle. Can you go forward one? And this is the saddle, and you can see the eggs in its ovary. See them like the round eggs. And then they transfer down. Can you go to the next slide? They transfer, I don't know how they transfer, it's some kind of magic. But they transfer down into the swimmerettes. And they only transfer if they're fertilized. So every egg is fertilized. And can you go to the next slide?
What happens to the unfertilized eggs?
They just stay in the ovaries. They never, I guess, and if they never get fertilized, female shrimp absorbs it back into her body. But these are fertilized eggs about to hatch after around 28 days. Can you go back to
Are those eyes?
Yeah, those are eyes. Can you go back to the diagram? Because Neil had some sort of question on that.
The facts?
No, yeah. Did you have a
It
question?
was actually about the facts, but it was more,
Okay.
you know, you're doing. I was just curious. You have your thesis. What is your thesis?
Why are shrimp content?
Neil booked me to speak on shrimp at the Brain Exchange, and this is my presentation.
Nice.
All right. So as I already said, these shrimp are only about an inch in length. Did I really need a thesis?
Well, no, but
Why are shrimp good
What
pets?
makes them an
Dude,
expert?
I'll get to the good pet shit, man. That's coming up.
well, yeah, maybe this is part of it. But like,
Did you say
how?
it could be a
What is
shrimp?
your relationship with shrimp?
He's a shrimp.
I'm their father. I own some. Like, what do you like? What kind of relationship? I've kept a lot of different kinds of shrimp. I wrote an article and was plagiarized in a German book. All right. So most of these shrimp are sexually mature. What?
If you told me this, I would have put that in the bio for the email and the description. Plagiarized in a German book. You know, that's.
I have the German book in my book bag. I bought it and then I looked at it and I'm like, this is exactly what I wrote. But anyway. All right, so the shrimp are sexually mature at 6 months of age, and most of them have a lifespan of 18 months. And as I mentioned, they reproduce sexually. And they live in dense colonies, so it's kind of crazy when you have a fish tank, and it's like a 5-gallon tank, which is 16 inches long, and you have like 700 or 800 animals in it, because they're almost like an underwater ant colony. Okay, can you go forward some slides? This one right here, this is to show the sex differences. These are cherry shrimp, and in most shrimp, unless they're a clear-bodied shrimp, the female is a lot more colorful. This is the female cherry shrimp over here, and that's the male. He's a lot smaller and has a skinnier body, and you can see the female is much more rounded, and her back pleopods.
Rubenesque.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say? But yeah, the females are just a lot more colorful. When they're carrying eggs in their swimmerettes, they get totally, like, a lot brighter. Like, this one's really bright red. She'd probably be a lot lighter if she didn't have color, or if she wasn't carrying eggs. All right, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. All right, so the reason... This is at a tropical fish convention. There was one in Hartford this weekend and I was there. Because of this man, Takashi Amano, shrimp are kept in the aquarium. Before he popularized them, no one really ever thought about keeping shrimp. He makes these really elaborate planted tanks, like this one, or can you go forward? And in this, wow, the resolution sucks on that, but in this book, in 1994, the Nature World Aquarium, he first published, can you go to the next slide? That book, but he was walking in Japan, and in the Yamato River, he saw all these shrimp hanging out and eating algae off plants, and he was like, wow, if they'll eat algae off plants in the river, they'll do that in my tanks. So he makes these really elaborate planted tanks, and he caught a whole bunch of these Amano shrimp. They're named after him. And yeah, like there were probably like Caridina japonica, but no one cared about them or kept them in aquariums. They weren't valuable until he discovered them and started using them. Can you go to the next slide? This is like an aquarium he'd design and take pictures. He uses like a lot of Zen ideas and really took aquatic gardening to new levels. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, like this is, like he just does stuff like this. This dude is a millionaire from designing fish tanks like this. Yeah, like the dude has bags of like aquarium substrate, gravel, that are $30. Like and it's just clay that like put his name on and sells to people now to grow plants in. And he's, I don't know, multi-millionaire. Can we go to the next slide?
Is this where you're going?
What?
Like multi-billionaire?
Me?
Yeah.
Billionaire I'm going. Rockefeller. But he popularized shrimp in 1994, and then after that, shrimp keeping became a popular hobby in Japan and quickly caught on in Germany. And yeah, it's wild. But in the early 2000s, like 2004, people started keeping shrimp in America. Can you go to the next slide?
Whoa.
And this is why would someone want to keep shrimp? And I don't really know why, but I'm going to cover a Mitch Hedberg joke right now. And his joke was, rice is great if you want to eat 2,000 of something. And that's kind of like shrimp. If you want to have an aquarium with like 1,000 of something in it, shrimp. I think like aquarists just want to control something. So, like 1,000 shrimp is something pretty good for them to control. The next slide, please. So basically, this is an actual picture that I took and didn't steal from the internet. I took it with that computer over there. But a shrimp tank really doesn't take that much. Basically some plants. This is Christmas moss in there. They like substrate. They like to walk around and stuff because they don't swim like fish do. They walk around, and if they're walking on bare glass, it would probably be slippery for them. But basically, you never thought about shrimp slipping and falling? You can keep them in a very small aquarium, like a 2.5 gallon aquarium or a 5.5 gallon aquarium, and they do very well. You can, like I've had in this 5.5 gallon aquarium, it was in my house in Boston, I probably had like 700 shrimp in it. And they did fine in there, but they need like a little sponge filter in the corner, which is driven by an air pump.
Why is copper toxic? What does it do?
Because they're invertebrates, they have different kind of circulatory systems, and it shuts down their circulatory system. So you don't want to feed them food that has copper sulfate in them, or like a lot of aquarium plants, they treat them with copper because there's snails crawling all over. Like the plants a lot of times when they grow them in Florida, and it'll kill the shrimp if you put those plants in there. You have to soak them well before that.
Do you eat the shrimp in your tanks?
No, because they're so small.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
What do you do when they overpopulate your tank?
Oh, you sell them and make money. You make millions of dollars. No, you just take them out, because if they do overpopulate, if there's too many in there, that leads to water chemistry issues, and then they'll start dying. No, they're only an inch. You can't eat them. They're tiny.
Are sea monkeys shrimp?
Yeah.
They wouldn't self-regulate their population?
They kind of do. If you have a lot of them, they'll probably start killing each other. They usually don't eat, like fish a lot of times will eat their babies when they have them, but shrimp just all live together in harmony. But if one dies, then they'll eat it. What?
If your tanks are full, you don't sell them.
Then they'll probably start dying or water chemistry issues. Because like an aquarium is kind of like a living thing in itself, because there's bacteria that break down the waste from the fish or shrimp. And if you have too many animals in there, like the bacteria levels won't be able to keep up with it, and then like the ammonia or nitrates will rise and stuff will die. Alright.
Only shrimp.
What?
You can't do other.
Some of the shrimp, like those Amano shrimp, the ones I showed, the clear ones in those Planet aquariums, those get 3 inches in length, so you can keep those in with fish, like peaceful fish.
Oh, okay.
But like the other dwarf shrimp, those get eaten up real fast by the fish. Alright, next slide please. Alright, so feeding them, shrimp are so big time now, they have their own foods. Like these guys up here are eating their foods. They mostly are they eat mostly algae. So their food is prized and mostly vegetables. Sometimes you can give them stuff like down the bottom. Those are eating some boiled bok choy. They like boiled greens. I give my shrimp boiled beet greens and stuff like that. But they also like, people think they're totally vegetarian, but they do like meat stuff. Like if one dies, they'll eat that, the dead shrimp. But I do feed them like frozen bloodworms or frozen brine shrimp, sea monkeys. Yeah, bloodworms are mosquito larvae.
Where do you get them?
In pet stores, reputable pet stores like Fish Frenzy sell. Next slide, please. So, a good deal of mutation has occurred by the people keeping shrimp in the aquarium. Not anything like X-Men mutation, but shrimp, like different color variations have been selectively bred. Can we go to the next slide? This is a wild form of a cherry shrimp, which is found in China and different parts of Asia. And it's just basically pretty blasé looking shrimp. Next slide. And this is, people start keeping the blasé looking ones and they start getting red ones, and they've bred red, and now they have bright pink ones that have also bred in aquariums. Can we go to the next slide? They've also made a yellow cherry shrimp. They could maybe call it a lemon shrimp, but I don't know if they thought of that. This one was made in Germany. But a lot of these just occur. A lot of times, like, you'll have shrimp and they have babies, and there'll just be a lot of different wild colored ones in there. Like, I've had them like this color, and there was like black ones coming off and stuff. Next slide. This is a tiger shrimp from China, and it's kind of nice looking on its own, but then in Germany, can we go to the next slide? They made this, which is a blue tiger shrimp. And people go crazy, kind of. There's a website called aquabid.com, which is like eBay, but people sell fish and shrimp on it. And like 10 of these on Aquabid would probably be like $300.
How do you ship shrimp?
What?
How do you ship shrimp?
And you put them in a bag. It's called a breather bag. It's like not a freezer bag, a breather bag, because it lets you put water and the shrimp in there, and you put some plants for them to hang on to, because they get vertigo if they spin around in the bag, because they need something to hang on to because they're a terrestrial animal. But when they're sealed in there, it lets oxygen into the bag and the carbon dioxide out. And you just put them in like a styrofoam box and put them in the mail. And I've gotten shrimp from Germany and Japan that were in the mail for like 15 days that way, and they're fine. Alright, next slide. And this is a black tiger shrimp. These, people pay like $300 each for these. Yeah.
How long do they live?
18 months. People are insane. Alright, next slide, please. These are wild bee shrimp, and they don't look all that spectacular. But in 1997, this dude in Japan got some. He started keeping them and breeding them. And next slide. He started getting red ones, and he started calling them crystal red shrimp. The next slide, please. And then people started going crazy for these in Japan and breeding them with brighter red and brighter white and more red and more white. And go to the next slide. They started grading them also. Like, this is a SS grade shrimp, and they range from D grade shrimp all the way to triple S. Can you go to the next slide? These are triple S shrimp. The ones with more bright white and only a little bit of red on them, those are higher grade. And now, like these...
What are the letters there for?
It's just grades that people in Japan made up. What? SS, it isn't like the stormtroopers and... SS is better, like D is the lowest. It goes, D is the lowest, then it goes C, B, A, S. Then SS, then triple S, and then next slide, please. And this is a flower head grade, and these are probably like $700 each. They were probably like $3,000 2 years ago. But I don't know, prices dropped.
Is there like a best in show shrimp like of the world?
They do have shrimp shows in Japan. And I heard that someone paid $50,000 for a best in show shrimp in Japan. Alright, next slide please. So, there's like, people have had a lot of shrimp in captivity for a long time, like those since the mid-90s. But then last year, someone discovered a whole bunch of shrimp in this island near Indonesia called Sulawesi and started importing them, and these were selling for $100 each. And there was just really, really wild colored ones. And basically, I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say by this, but like shrimp, the shrimp hobby is going places. That's what I'm trying to say. Next slide.
That's your thesis.
Yeah. Next slide. These are just really nice shrimp that live in fresh water. That's all I can say about them. And I was sent a bunch of them to try to breed in a freshwater aquarium. There's probably like $3,000 worth of shrimp and they all died, but I didn't pay for them. I felt bad, but it was this kind of shrimp. Freshwater cardinal shrimp. Yeah, someone else paid for them.
Hey Dan.
Yes.
Imported shrimp escape and compete with the existing ecosystem?
They could, but I think if they were bright, like it would have to be somewhere.
What was the question?
Do these shrimp escape and become, what's the word? Not parasitic, invasive. Do they become invasive? And the answer is yes, probably in places like Florida, because these shrimp need sustained temperatures above 70 degrees to breed. So if it's in Massachusetts and it's wintertime, they're gonna die. So it would have to be somewhere like South Florida for them to, or like southern Texas for them to be able to sustain. Yes, sir?
Something like a cardinal shrimp and a mono shrimp not get along?
A lot of times, he asked if two different kinds of shrimp won't get along, and yes, they won't get along a lot of times because they'll outcompete each other for food. Like one will be more aggressive and it'll beat the other one up and chase it away from the food. So it's kind of like war if you have two different like types of shrimp in an aquarium. You own a mono shrimp, George. How does it feel? Yeah, but they probably wouldn't get along. And then finally, I think, these are just links if you want to learn more about shrimp. Yeah, petshrimp.com is kind of whack, but I used a lot of pictures from there. So. Is there any more questions?
How does it relate to the shrimping industry?
The shrimping industry?
Yeah.
Where, in like Louisiana? Or like the other kind of shrimping?
They're like Louisiana
I don't think it relates at all to that industry. This is a different industry. The aquarium industry. Yes.
If you have just one shrimp on its own, will it get lonely?
The question was, if you have one shrimp on its own, will it get lonely? And I don't think it will. There was one shrimp in a tank by itself at Fish Frenzy, and it got giant sized. It got bigger than normal, so I don't know. It didn't seem lonely. Maybe it ate a lot and got huge and it was lonely.
How did your interest in shrimp begin?
The question was, how did I get interested in shrimp? I don't know. I kept aquariums for a long time, probably since I was like 3 years old. My mom got our dog put to sleep and got me a fish. And then I had like 30 or 40 aquariums in our basement. And she probably regretted getting me a fish, but I don't know, I just had a lot of fish. And then these came around and I was really interested in them, so it was just, I thought they were really cool.
When you say that you're the father of the child, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thought at all, but I wonder that when you said that, you meant in a way that, like, you know, like people feel close to their dogs. So I mean, is it like that? Like, do you feel like
No, it was just more me being a jerk to Neil. That was why I said I was the father. It was
Because I mean, I
being
have
sarcastic.
an animal that I love.
Yeah, it was in jest I said that. Is there any more questions? Yes.
Do you eat shrimp?
Yeah, I do.
More than normal?
I don't know. Like when I first started keeping them, I was vegan, and I really like shrimp. I liked shrimp before I even kept them and was vegan, so I really like them. Cameron, do you have a question? You look attentive. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan Linton. Dan Linton, let's hear it. So, in like, hopefully 5 or 10 minutes, Dan Friel's gonna be up, so stick around, please. And, yeah, get a drink or hang out or do whatever. Remember the song?